Alright then. Hey all, it's DFuxa, and this video is a little bit different because it's not really a talks video or, an explore video or anything like that. It's basically an introduction to what's basically to come. So, I'll note that at this point, the 70-year-old challenge for 2023 has basically come to a close. And I actually asked Darren Gray if it'd be possible that I could basically, be one of the reviewers for this. And he basically said, sure. So, I'm going to be reviewing some of the 70-year-olds from 2023. Now, before I basically jump into that, for those who don't know what basically a 70-year-old basically is, you can go to Rogue Basin here, and they basically have, a little bit of, information basically on 70-year-olds here. But to give you guys basically the cliff notes basically, 70-year-olds are basically roguelikes are basically done in 7 days. The developer basically started coding them and basically finished coding them within 168 hours. And the thing about these roguelikes is that unlike basically other roguelikes that you might have played, these ones are actually supposed to be complete within 7 days for the most part. Basically, the idea of the 70-year-old is that developers can basically experiment or try new ideas that they may not want to basically do in their own roguelike games because it's basically doesn't fit the mold for it or whatnot. And this is basically a way of them basically making a game that won't turn into a second life's work. Essentially, after 168 hours, the developer can basically say, "I'm done. I'm walking away from this. I'm not going to pick it up again," and that's basically fine. And for roguelike players, basically, it's also good because many of us basically will play a roguelike, and it progressively changes and shapes itself as it goes along. A lot of roguelikes never actually reach feature completion, and well, this is a way that sort of ensures that they're going to be feature complete for the most part. After 7 days, even though the roguelike developer could actually pick it up again, for the most part, these are meant to be done. And that's something that's very runs in contrast to other roguelikes basically might have played, because for many of them they never finish. They just keep on going and going, getting developed and having new code basically introduced to them as they go along. Alright, so I'll note that for the submissions for the 70-year-old challenge of 2023, there's essentially 184 successful ones, 55 incomplete. Many of them are basically played in the browser, and some are basically played on Windows. A few are on Mac, a few are on Linux. Hopefully I won't be able to pick up any Mac or Linux ones because I can't actually play those, but that's just how it goes. Now, it's worth knowing that the roguelikes here, as you can see down here, basically there's 162 I say that yes, we're turn-based, and no, we're not turn-based. Something to know about 70-year-olds is that they're not the people who are basically judge these games and whether they should be included or not, they aren't too finicky about whether the game's roguelike or not. So you'll basically see a lot of these games that might be roguelites. They might be a lot off the cuff from what a roguelike basically should be. And some of them of course basically shouldn't belong here, but hopefully won't run into any of those. Anyways, it's probably worth knowing if you haven't already seen it yet. Up here, you can basically see this is basically hosted on itch.io, and for the most part, it's basically a month, 15 days, and 12 hours at the point I'm basically recording this for it to be fully judged. Now, I'll note basically the call for reviewers is basically it's still going on. This is posted a few days ago by Darren Gray on the roguelike subreddit. If you basically want to, you can basically join up yourself to basically judge some games. Basically, here's the reviewer sign-up page. Basically, there's a goal basically to review all the games, and the idea here is you only need to review 5 of them. You have to basically be of 20 to 40 minutes basically per game. Write your scores basically in it, and be fair, be constructive, stuff like that. Judged on aesthetics, completeness, fun, innovation, scope, and roguelikeness. And there will be formal guidelines basically if you actually submit yourself to this, but I can't actually show you that because it's not actually private. Some people who are judging this, by the way, I would actually show you the work pages we're actually working on, but they may not want to be revealed, shall we say, to the public as to they're being reviewers or judges and stuff like that. But anyways, there's basically formal like rules and stuff like that, basically on how you basically go about this, and all that stuff. Basically, we're like using a spreadsheet in Google Drive, as it basically says right here, and well, that's basically all about this for now. All right, so that's basically enough of this for now. So I want to know that, like, right here, basically, I'm doing a video basically for this, and the plan is basically I plan to, like, record my, like, playing of, like, these games, and I want to basically, like, mention as to why I'm basically doing this. So, it's worth knowing that many of these, like, roguelike developers of, like, these 70 URLs, it's very likely that they won't have a whole lot of, like, feedback, basically, on, like, their games being played, and this, like, doesn't say anything about video recordings, like I'm doing right here. My plan is basically to do a video recording for like each of these games I'm basically playing, so the developer has not only like feedback from like me basically telling them what to do, they can also see what I'm basically doing and how I'm basically playing their game, and hopefully that'll also basically help them like learn from their processes and like what the player is basically doing in their game, like actually doing, as opposed to like this game like written feedback or like watching over like some friend's shoulder basically of who played their game. The other like purpose for this is of course for review purposes. So for those basically in the future, like 10 or 20 years down the road, they can look back at this video, see what the roguelike is basically all about and how it basically played. I want to note that basically at this point, it's been about 10 years since the Uber Hunter on YouTube, or as otherwise known as Game Hunter, he actually like was doing like this sort of thing back in like 2013, 2014, and many of those games from that time period are gone. If I actually like try to play a lot of like the games like from the past that I like was very interested in, and even though Game Hunter did like all the roguelikes basically from 2013 and quite a few from 2014, a lot of those games didn't work. So one of the benefits of like this video recording is also the fact that like people down the road can basically look at this video and see what the game is like, even though they may not have access to the game anymore, or there may be problems basically associated with playing it and stuff like that. So there is that too. Alright, well, I feel I've basically rambled on enough. I'll basically like be doing my like first game here in a moment. So I'll see you guys when we get to it. And wish me luck. Reviewing as well as to the people who I'm going to be reviewing for.